we would go to the food bank. And I remember that was like my favorite trip. I love going to the food bank. I love all these free food that they gave in. One thing with weight gain is that it's because of what we eat. Japanese have one of like the lowest rating in terms of health issue because, hey guys, recently I've been doing a lot of readings on the Western diet and how sugar and fat is affecting our health and also our mental well-being. And it's just I want to share some of these content with you, or some of the facts that I found about, things that we underestimated. Because there's so much, living in Canada, there's so much abundance. There's all these fast food chains everywhere. Literally, they're around every corner, every intersection. So it's like, you wonder, how it's so convenient. So why can I not, have better eating healthy habits? Because these chain are everywhere. They make it so convenient. The first thing you do when you wake up, and I mean, like, there's some coworkers of mine, they go and grab a coffee and a donut and that's their breakfast. And they may think like, it's nothing. It just keeps them full and it's good for the morning until the next meal. It's affordable, right? Like, I mean, it's only costs like less than $5 for a coffee and a donut. And the only thing is that in the long run is causing more health issue, more mental illness than we actually know it. I mean, there's been a lot of study that shows with, a lot of sugar intake actually affects, depressions, it makes your mood feel worse, body ability to use insulin, and increase the risk of obesity. There's a lot of increase in cancer. So all of this, there's been a lot of research on it, and it shows that the Western diet is not conducive in terms of longevity. I mean, working in the healthcare field, I see a lot of patients coming in, especially in the ER. There's a lot of patients coming in and they have, a lot of times, almost everybody's on high blood pressure pills, high cholesterol pills. Everybody's on one of the statins. And also, not only that, everybody's diabetic. And almost everybody has some kind of heart condition because their artery, the coronary arteries, is clogged at one point and they trigger and it causes them to have a heart attack, and therefore they're on a whole bunch of slew of medications. It's like I always joke around thinking, with the patients, and a lot of them, they laugh at it because I'm like, you are really a walking pharmacy. You can start opening up your a chain of pharmacy because you have so many medications, right? One of the things is that there was a patient that I love to tell this story about. There was this back about at least like 9 years ago roughly, where there's this lady, she came in, she is still overweight, but she said she was much larger, much more overweight prior to that. And after losing 50 pounds of weight, she went from taking 20 medication down to about 10, 11. So almost cut in half of the medication, and she feels great. Her plan is to lose an extra 20, so that's gonna help her. I mean, this lady's on puffers. She's a diabetic. She's got like all sorts of blood pressure medications. So there's a lot of comorbidity. And when it comes to the Western diet, what does it include? It's a high fat, high sugar diet. And if you want to put it in, high sodium, high salt diet as well too. But it's pretty much a high fat, high sugar diet. And that's literally everywhere. Every fast food chain is available. And I remember when I was younger, I didn't realize it, but almost every weekend my mom would take me to McDonald's and we would have ice cream, we'd have all those burgers, any Big Macs, McNuggets, a Happy Meal. We would literally eat everything, all those junk food, and then sometimes we'll go to the donut shop and then we'll have a few donuts. There's also tons of pastry, and every often, quite frequently actually, we end up going to Pizza, having pizza, chicken wings, all these fast food, junk food, right? And my mom didn't know that these were junk food. Coming from a poverty background, we think like, well, at least it's food to eat. At least it keeps you full and you're good for the next meal or so. And I remember when we first came to Canada, we're from Vietnam. So when we first came to Canada, we were broke as heck. We had nothing. And my mom, our family was on welfare. So what we would do is almost every weekend, we would go to the food bank. And I remember that was like my favorite trip. I love going to the food bank. I love all these free food that they gave in. So by the time we got out of the food bank, there's like always, a bag full or two of canned food. There's like pasta, ravioli, macaroni and cheese, corn pops, every sorts of cereal that's high in sugar, and we would just love it. Like that's all we eat, and we thought, that's not all we eat. We eat the healthy food too, but we eat a lot of these highly processed food that we didn't know were actually not good for you. They actually cause a lot of inflammation. But my mom didn't know. I didn't know until at least I'm in like close to my 20s. Then I realized that, some of the food that I'm eating are not helping. It's like, sometimes I'm tired because of this food and I don't have the right, foundations in terms of food. That's what's causing my building blocks where, sometimes I would get emotional easily and all that stuff. It's because I've been eating these junk food and it accumulates over time. It definitely affects your mood. But the thing is, I'm not saying that, that is the only thing, because what it is that no matter what happens, there are two factors that actually, dictate how you respond to something. One is because what your thoughts are on it. So whether you put meaning to that, whatever that situation or the event or anything like that is, that's what makes it important to you or not, right? It's your thoughts on it. And the second part is that, not taking care of your body. Whatever crap that you put into your body, it's what ruins you, what makes you become a certain way. Because like, let's say you're sluggish, you're overweight, you don't feel as energetic, you start breaking out, some of these things. I notice a lot of times, like for women, they have a hard time losing weight. It's because 80% of the problem stems from their diet, because they're not eating the right kind of nutritious food, and they don't even know that there's the hidden calorie food, the high sugar food that has a lot of calories in them. And then there's also what they think as well too. The mindset makes a big difference. 80% of the ailments that's caused either mentally or physically stems from the thought that we have in our mind, from our mindset, and also from what we put in our body. So this is really important, and in terms of understanding it, we have to look at food as if it's actually our medicine. I love how like the framework the Buddhists use in terms of using food as thy medicine. With the Chinese, they always been using herbal remedies as a form of medications. So they don't go to the drugstore and like say, I'm gonna get this, take the pill. They go through a naturalist, an herbal, medicinal doctor, an herbal doctor, a holistic doctor, naturopath, and they would get some kind of herbal remedy. And those are actually natural for the body, right? Because with the Western medication as well, there's a lot of side effects to it. Because when you take one pill, let's say you take an Advil or like an anti-inflammatory, you end up having to take an antacid or a proton pump inhibitor, something to help reduce your stomach acid because of that anti-inflammatory pill. So there's a lot of adverse effects, and next thing you know, instead of taking one pill, you're going to be on another pill. So some of these things are really important, and I noticed that the thing that actually makes a big difference is, if possible, I know it's possible because I've done it for about at least 4 months and a half, is that you have to be aware of what kind of food have added sugar, what kind of food are processed. So not only are you taking in the food that are high in sugar, but low nutrients, it doesn't help you because your body requires a lot of nutrients to break that down, right? I mean, you need more insulin to break down that excess sugar, excess calorie that's in your system so that it can be stored and stored in the liver and put away for another day. And then when you do need it, you know, it will break down the sugar that is stored as fat in your liver or whatever else in your body. It's going to be used and be like, okay, I'm going to turn into glucose, to sugar, so I can use it as a form of energy. I read a few studies that shows that sugar is just as addictive as if you're taking some kind of a substance. People don't realize how addictive sugar is. I mean, the reward system that it triggers is almost the same as if you're taking crack cocaine, and it's along that pathway. So that's one of the reasons why, you know, when you're taking a lot of added sugar, it's very addictive, and people have a hard time, you know, pretty much getting off of it, because sometimes they're like going almost as if it's like a withdrawal effect. But there's a simple way that can be helped with that is, let's say if you have grapes, instead of eating the candies, you know, have a bowl of grapes. It's just as much the sugar content, there's a lot of sugar content, but there's also a lot of vitamins and minerals in it that's actually really good for you. So there's like vitamin C, vitamin K, and you know, like any times when you feel like you need something to drink or you feel hungry, try drinking some water, 1 glass of water first. See how that works, because a lot of times is that when you don't have enough water, your body might think that, oh, I'm hungry, when really when you drink some water, you're less thirsty, you're feeling better, you're filling your cells because it feels like it's not hydrated. It will trigger like, oh, okay, I think I might be hungry, but really try to drink a glass of water, see how that works. And a lot of times you find that your craving is reduced a little bit more. That makes a big difference. So that when you go for dinner or whatever meal that you're going to, you're not like, oh my God, I'm starving and you know, I'm gonna overeat, and you binge eat everything that you see in sight, right? That's one thing with weight gain, is that it's because of what we eat. So the excess calories, we tend to have excess calories that's not burning. If you want to lose weight, it's, you know, you have a lower calorie intake compared to, you know, the calorie that you're going to spend. And another thing is that not only that, your body doesn't metabolize the fat, you know, the protein as fast compared to the sugar, right? So, but a lot of times it's the sugar, when it comes in excess, it gets stored as fat. So a lot of times people think like, oh, I would get fat if I eat a lot of fat, or I would eat a lot of protein and I'll get fat. Sugar can also make you fat. There's a lot of hidden sugar that's in alcohol, cereals, in bread, yogurt, dairy products, all sorts of that. There's a lot of empty calorie food that you don't even know that there's like a high sugar. If you were to look at the ingredients, the nutritional ingredient information in the back, or like part of the label, look at the ingredients and see what is the first 3 ingredients. If sugar was one of them, chances are it's better to avoid that kind of food, because you're taking in a lot more sugar than you actually are. Canada Food Guide, or pretty much like even the FDA, I was reading that they actually recommend, like most for people, even the WHO recognize, the World Health Organization suggested that, you know, in terms of for the added sugar, this is sugar on top of, you know, your fruits and everything else that you're taking in. It's they suggest that to keep it less than 24-30 grams. So that's like about 6 teaspoons of the sugar. I mean, like, it might not seem much, but I have seen some people pour like double, you know, like they'll have 2 pouch of sugar, and then, you know, and they have like 3 cups of coffee, and there you go, that's their sugar intake is already done, you know, for the day. And even a glass of juice, I was looking at like the village of juicery, the juicery village, I think, and at the back it says like 1 glass of orange juice is actually like 24 grams of sugar. I was like, holy crap, that's a lot. That's like, there you go, your added daily sugar intake is done, right? So I mean, it's drinking the orange juice is actually better than pop drink because at least it has like some nutrients in it, like let's say vitamin C in it. But the thing is that, I mean, people think it's a healthier choice. They end up sometimes drinking more than what is needed, and they realize like, oh shoot, why am I getting all these symptoms, and why am I still feeling so tired? Why is my sugar so high? It's because you're taking a lot of sugar in. I just want to share that some of these stuff is like, people don't realize the effect of it. They just think that, you know, it's, oh, a pill is going to help save it, or some surgery is going to help get rid of the fat on the belly. But when really in reality is that over the period of time, a high sugar diet is going to cause more problems to you than it's not. And there's a lot of patient who has like strokes or like any heart problems. They're at risk of it because of the sugar. If you think about it, like consider your bloodstream. You want good circulation. You don't want anything to slow it down. You want to make sure the blood circulates properly and all that stuff. So compare that, like let's say water compared to sugar or honey in your system. Of course, honey is going to flow slower, right? And because the flow is going slower, it's not getting as much nutrients as it should, not getting enough of oxygen distribution as it should. The heart have to work harder. There's a lot of resistance, and therefore increase the blood pressure. Wound healing is not as good. So some of these things here, it's a trigger. It triggers onto more problems and increase obesity, increase the risk of cancer. But people don't realize that. People think like, oh, it's a vanity metric, I don't look good. No, it's more than that. You're acquiring the other problems, the health problems, that is more than just the vanity metric, more than just the look. What I found from the study was that the Mediterranean diet is actually quite useful. And another thing is I noticed that in terms of the population wise, the Japanese have one of like the lowest rating in terms of health issue, because the food that they take are fresh, they're wholesome, they're more wholesome, and apparently they eat fresh fish more often compared to the other population. So that actually makes a big difference. And for the Mediterranean diet, there's olive oil in it. There are a lot of increased focus on vegetables, whole grain, and, you know, fruits, and low amount of, you know, meat intake, right? So it's the diet that's like totally up, and then every now and then they'll get a little sweet here and there, whereas compared to the Western diet, we load up on the sweet, we load on the fast food, and then you wonder why, you know, the lady in the Europeans are so slim even though they eat well and everything like that, compared to like the Western culture where everybody's like a blob because of the food that they take. So it's really important to understand that there's a difference between the diet that makes a big difference in terms of your figure, and not only that, your health, the disease that you have as well too. And there's so much emphasis on the medications in the healthcare system. So much is put on like, here, I'll write you a prescription and then take it home, and that's it. Take the pills, make sure you take it. But there's not much in terms of like focus on the diet. You know, like let's say if you were to tell someone, watch your figure, you need you to lose weight. Most of the patients, they don't even know how to lose weight. They don't even understand, because I didn't realize that, you know, the food that I was eating was junk until later on, right? You don't know what you don't know. And what I realized that regardless of what the education system teach you, it is up to your responsibility to go out there, learn what you need to, pull that information, whatever works for you, and apply it. Because if you're not, no one's going to be looking after you. You can think like, oh, it's up to the government to provide the healthcare. It's up to the government to educate me on some of these stuff. No. It's your responsibility. And if you feel like you're not healthy, or, you know, like your emotional is not as intact, it is really up to you and your family member. You guys have to figure out a way to learn what different ways that you can use, or you know, like lifestyle factor changes that you can do in order to make yourself healthier, and not only physically but mentally and emotionally as well. So there's a lot of things that, you know, you can rely on just saying like, oh, the government is going to take care of me. It's not my fault, I don't know. if it's not your fault, like ignorance is such a horrible thing. It's one of those things where ignorance will cause more destruction to you in so many ways, regardless of it's your health, your relationship, your wealth, whatever it is. Being ignorant is not an excuse, and that doesn't help. At least try and figure out which strategy that's going to help you, and that's going to improve. So like over the course of 4 months and a half, I've noticed that my skin is significantly better. Less pimples, less cold sore, yes, symptoms during my period. I feel like I have more energy. And not only that, my kids, their eczema, they used to have eczema. I didn't realize I was giving, I thought, okay, well, maybe like the yogurt wouldn't be a bad idea. So it's like dairy, and yogurt actually has a lot of sugar in it. And so, they would be eating it, and I realized, oh my God, they have eczema. It's actually really bad. And my youngest one will be itching, scratching, which is really annoying because then, she's ruining her skin, she's irritating, and it's disrupt her sleep at nighttime because she'll like scratch her arms and her elbow like that. And so even for them, their eczema has improved. Well, the eczema almost like become non-existent. My older one, her eczema is completely gone. My younger one, it's almost all gone. It makes a big difference how using food as a form of medicine really helps heal the body from the inside out. Like, these are some of the things that's so important. And if we look at food as differently, like, I am the person who really loves food, and like I should be, but sometimes like the food that I eat before doesn't love me or didn't love me back, right? So it's really important that to love food and eat the food that loves you back. It's kind of like the same thing as like, being in a relationship, being in a relationship with someone you love and that person loves you back, rather than being in an abusive relationship where you love that other person, but they are treating you crap like that, right? Of course, it's going to be damaging your self-esteem. Who knows, you might get physically abused, and it's not a good relationship. Just the same idea. So we got to change the way we see about food, that choosing the food that are in its whole form. So let's say if it's an apple, if it's an orange, a celery, carrot, potato, onions, a slice of salmon steak, or like chicken breast, certain things like that, right? It's in the whole form. Choosing food that you can actually see that it's at food, not being smushed and processed and made into like a little gunk, whatever that is, and then they call it TV dinner, right? It doesn't even look like food, right? It looks like, I don't know what it looks like. I used to eat a lot of that too before. So we really gotta change the way we see food, and also how we, treat our body with it as well too, because it's about finding the food that actually treat us good back. So the food that are like medicine to our body. So I'll give you an example that's really good. Especially during the summertime, some of these foods are so delicious. It's readily available, it's affordable, and it's so tasty. Like, that's actually really good for snacks as well too. So like blueberries, strawberries, bananas. I know sometimes a little high in sugar. Grapes, they're delicious. Like, even rambutan, coconut. Oh my gosh, there's like fig, and there's date. Some of this food, even though like there's high sugar in it for some more than other, but at least it's in its whole form. You're getting the vitamin and nutrients. So it's better than eating the high sugar added food, so the highly processed food that actually has no nutrients, or like low nutrients in it. That doesn't help you. That's the reason why you get sick, because you're not using food as your medicine like that. Using food as a way to heal your body makes it so good for you. Another thing is, like, when it comes to drinks, one of the things that people don't realize is that when it comes to alcohol, there's a lot of added sugar that's in the alcohol, because they made the drink sweet. There's yeast, they make it delicious, a certain flavor to it, and you're like, oh, this tastes so good, right? There's a lot of calories from the added sugar. So if you think about it, each gram of sugar is 4 calories, and so depending on what you take, and you don't even realize that you're drinking and you're having all the calories in it, right? And so it makes a big difference. Not only that, alcohol over time. The other day I was talking to this patient. He was being discharged. He was given a prescription for a proton pump inhibitor, so like pretty much a stomach acid pill, and because he's complaining of pain that's like hurting around his chest, his throat, and it goes up, and he's saying that oh, the doctor said it's okay to have up to 10 glasses of wine or drinks per week. And I'm thinking like, yeah, okay, whatever, if the doctor says so, but you clearly know what's the problem. You shouldn't be drinking alcohol at all, and if anything, you should reduce that, because what happens is that not only is it high sugar, because there's empty calorie sugar in it, high sugar that they put into the alcoholic drink, that increase the risk of obesity, insulin resistance, and further problems. The alcohol erodes the lining of your digestive tract system. So over time, after drinking, more and more often, then you realize, oh, I'm having heartburn. Oh, I have indigestion problem. Oh, I'm having abdomen pain. Oh, sometimes I vomit out blood. No wonder, because the wear and tear of the alcohol kills the lining of the digestive tract system. And that is why a lot of the patients, they're complaining of, oh, I'm having abdomen pain. And then they prescribe a stomach acid pill. And, the patient just pretty much looks like, oh, so will it go away? I'm like, yeah, it will go away if you stop drinking or reduce your drinking, right? Taking this pill is not going to help you. Taking this pill is only a temporary measure to help with the symptoms. But your drinking alcohol is not going to help with your symptoms. It's actually going to make it worse. So the cause of it, we know the cause. So he's just going to look at me. He's like, oh. And then I'm just like, okay, but it's really up to you, whatever you decide on. But I'm letting you know this is what it is, right? A lot of times people just don't want to take the responsibility and say that, hey, you know what? My health is up to me to decide, to figure it out, to do something about it, and there is a choice on it. We can't say that for a lack of education when you've been educated on it and still don't do something about it. So it's a matter of willpower and how much important it is. So the mind makes a big difference. What you think about certain things, we really got to switch our perspective around and look at it in a different way, so that we're using, food, we're using, like the drinks that we have, water, like that. We're using the things that actually helps us, like exercise. These things, we got to use it as if it's like doing it to heal our body, doing it to increase the function of our body, doing it to preserve it, rather than just putting all these toxin in. It's like, okay, I would take the pill and that's gonna solve everything. So I don't think that works like that. But anyways, regardless, I'm ranting a little too much there. I hope some of the stuff I share helps you, but if it doesn't, then oh well. Anyways, have a great day.